Hello guys, Greg back with another video on the channel that is all killer no filler. So today I'm doing part 5 of my perfect 10 out of 10 fragrances that I've got in my collection. Episode 1 of this series was more than 5 years ago, and the last episode that I did was more than 2 years ago. So I thought it was time that we had another instalment. Now, just because I rate these fragrances 10 out of 10 doesn't mean that you will. This is completely subjective. These are fragrances that I own that I rate 10 out of 10. Each of the videos contains 5 fragrances, so we've got another 5 today. So let's get into it. First up, this is simply the best iris fragrance that I have ever smelled. If you're a fan of iris, you need to get your nose on this at some stage. Just got a brand new bottle of this as well. This is Age de Venustus Iris Nazarena. Now, to have to be honest, this one does lean a little bit feminine, but it's definitely still wearable for a guy. The word masterpiece gets overused in my opinion, but this one is a masterpiece in perfumery for me. Essentially, it is iris with like a buttery leather and some incense, but you're going to forget everything else and just concentrate on the amazing iris in here. It's not a cheap fragrance, so do sample this one first, but I don't think you'll be disappointed. So that is my first 10 out of 10 fragrance for this video. That is Iris Nazarena from Age de Venustus. Next up, we have one from Acqua di Parma, from the Blue Mediterranean line. This one is Ginepro de Sardegna. Juniper, cedar, spices and tea are what you're getting here. Really reminds me of another fragrance that I rated 10 out of 10, Gucci Pour Homme 2. There's also a lot of pepper and a lot of nutmeg in here. Now, it's full of notes that you might not associate with summer, but it's got that Mediterranean summer feel to it. It's one of those fragrances that kind of changes your mood, and this one makes you happy. You know, even on a cold winter's day, this will transport you to Italy on a hot summer's day. Absolutely stunning fragrance, and again, a 10 out of 10 for me. Next one, from the house of Roger Parfum. This is Oligarch. This is an absolutely amazing, regal smelling chypre fragrance. It does have similarities to Hermès Terre d'Hermès, but this is like Terre d'Hermès if it won the lottery. This starts out with a beautiful, fresh, vibrant mix of citruses. Then it goes into like a fruity floral stage. You've got lavender and jasmine mixed with apple and blackcurrant. The base in here has got some woods, it's got some musk, and despite not being mentioned in the 50 notes that are mentioned in this fragrance, there's a distinct vetiver note in here. But this one just smells of class and sophistication. It's not challenging anyway, it's just a beautiful, smooth, enjoyable fragrance. Really, really love this. Possibly, I don't know, maybe even top 2 or 3 favourite fragrances of all time, that one. Next pick. One that I've spoken about quite a lot on videos of mine. I haven't spoken really about it much recently, but it has been mentioned quite a few times in the last 5 or 6 years. It's from the perfumer Pierre Guillaume, and it's from the Hutiem Art collection, and this one's called Monsur. Now, if you're a fan of woods, you've got to try this fragrance. There's 8 different types of woods in this fragrance. It's got a bit of greenness to it, it's got some incense, and I pick up some oud in here, although it's not listed as a note. The magic in here is the contrast between the different types of wood that it's got. It starts out with papyrus, it's got oak, then you get cedar, sandalwood. It's got kind of like a tree bark type of accord, and it's also got a really nice earthiness in here that I enjoy, almost like sort of from the root of a tree. Now, the note breakdown here is totally different and not really similar, but the feel that I get from this fragrance, the regal opulence of it, reminds me of Amouage Jubilation 25. As I said, it doesn't smell like it, it just feels like it. But this one is so good. Never tire of this. That's a 10 out of 10. That is Monsur from Pierre Guillaume. And the final one for this instalment is another one from Acqua di Parma. Another one from the Blue Mediterranean line. Cipresso de Toscana. Perfumer on this one is Bertrand Duchesneau. I'm a big fan of his work. This one is predominantly a citrus, lavender and pine scent. It's got cypress in here and kind of a coniferous notes in here. But there's a lot going on, but it's got a little hint of rubber, it's got some smokiness, and also a bit of a barbershop type of feel to it. But this one again manages to conjure up that feeling of a Mediterranean night. Absolutely love this one. I think it's discontinued, but it seems to have come back with like a limited release just at Selfridges in the UK. So I'm not exactly sure of the status of this one, but if you can find it, buy it. It's amazing. 10 out of 10. That's Espresso de Toscana from Acqua di Parma. So there you go, guys. That is another 5 perfect 10 out of 10 fragrances. Remember, you can purchase samples of most of these and around 500 other fragrances from my online store, which is fragrancesamplesuk.com. If you're outside of the UK, you can email us to talk about orders at info@fragrancesamplesuk.com. Both of those addresses are in the video description. Thanks again for watching, guys. We'll be back very soon with another video. Cheers.